Hi everyone, this is Diva from Blood Hunter, and you're listening to the Metal Pit podcast.
Welcome to the Metal Pit Podcast. This is where we dig deep into the riffs, the legends, and the chaos that make heavy metal what it is today. You can check out our latest reviews, Metal Maiden of the Month, interviews, and more at our website at www.themetalpit.org. Stay connected with us on Instagram and Facebook at The Metal Pit and at The Metal Pit Podcast. And visit our YouTube channel at the Metal Pit 666. If you have any album suggestions or maybe you want to be a guest on an episode, email us podcast@themetalpit.org. Please rate and review us. Here we go, the Metal Pit Podcast.
Welcome to the Metal Pit. My name is Eric. I will be your host tonight. Blake is busy right now. I have two metalhead amigos joining me tonight. First, I'd like to say hello, John. Welcome.
Hey, Eric. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Awesome. And George, how are you doing tonight?
Doing fabulous. Also great to be here. And I was gonna do the intro to Crazy Train there, but no, never mind.
I like the idea. Nice. All right. Well,
barging in, just doing aboard. Oh, there you go. Got it.
Yeah. Yep. That works. That works just fine. So tonight's podcast, we are dedicating towards the Prince of Darkness, Ozzy Osbourne, and Black Sabbath. Obviously, what a front man. So we're going to talk about everything Black Sabbath and Ozzy tonight. We're going to go over our favorite albums, songs, maybe a cover or two, and then some concert/memories. It's going to be a really great time. So I can tell you guys are pumped. We're definitely going to make it count tonight. Definitely ready to rock and roll. I'm glad I left the coffee upstairs. I don't need any more. So
sure about that?
I think so. So check with me in an hour.
You haven't switched the booze by now? Come on, man.
That's probably
it's 5 o'clock. It's 5:30 here. So
yeah, we're good. We're good. And John ain't messing around. Yep, he's already got it going.
What?
Yeah. Yes. So
it's not like he's got a system or anything.
Yeah. Well, plus one of the three is on vacation. So anyway, with that in mind, our listeners are going to be envious, I believe. So let's start it out. George, what are some of your favorite Black Sabbath/Ozzy albums?
Oh, let's see. Albums wise, I'm just no particular order here. The thing that got me into Ozzy, of course, was the No More Tears album, because that's around the same time frame that I got into rock and metal to begin with. So I'll throw that in there. Bark at the Moon, absolutely. On the Sabbath end, there's Paranoid. And I might be the only one amongst us three, but Gus G is one of my favorite guitarists. Plus, he's from the same country I come from. Scream is also another damn good album.
Interesting. Okay. And John?
Being much more of a fan of Black Sabbath and Ozzy's solo career, immediately what comes to mind is Master of Reality. I remember I was about to play it before they did the benefit concert, just to kind of set the vibe, set the mood, and flipped over the CD because, I'm a collector and I'm old. And I was, you look at the track listing, And every single song on Master of Reality is a Black Sabbath classic. Every single freaking song. And while I do love Paranoid and the debut and Volume 4, yeah, all of the Ozzy Sabbath albums are great, but there's always, a song here, a song there. I'm kind of like, eh, I might skip it or whatever. And I know that's probably blasphemous, but Master of Reality is the one album that I when I put it in, I've got to listen to it in its entirety. So for me, that's a huge, huge personal favorite. And then from the later years from Ozzy's solo career, I think Bark at the Moon was the one that really grabbed my attention first. Just based off the video on MTV for the title track alone, he's all, fluffed out with the big nails and the fangs and everything, which I thought was really cool. And then while I was in high school, No More, like George said, No More Tears was a big album. It was important because, I mean, even at that time, Ozzy was looking to retire because, the following quote unquote No More Tours tour, of which he did the box set, the Live and Loud box set, which was really awesome as well, which I thought
Such a
was cool.
good album.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Mhm.
And, the Live and Loud was special because, I mean, even without seeing the action, you could just hear the crowd in the background. You knew Ozzy was running from one end of the stage to the other, I mean, just absolutely classic. I feel like I'm cheating a little bit by mentioning it, but at the same time, it's a moment in history, uh, and one that we'll never get back, certainly. But being in high school and same with me, George. I was getting into metal in the early 90s. I think 1990, I started, getting into Priest and Maiden and whatnot. So it was at that time period that, it was really, really big for me. So I got to mention, Live and Loud, certainly No More Tears as well.
I gotta admit that album had some actual deep cuts that they played live on that too. Just they've got all the classics were there, but then they had stuff like SIN and Desire on there, and oh man,
Love me some Desire.
good
Yes.
lord,
Yeah.
that's my
Absolutely.
anthem from Ozzy, man.
It's a
Nice.
classic. It's a
Yeah.
classic. Even if it's a quote unquote lesser known track, I mean, it's still a classic in my mind.
No kidding. It's like
Hmm.
anybody asks me what's my favorite Ozzy song, I'm like, and if I name Desire, they're like, huh?
Well, they might not be true Ozzy fans, so you never know. They could be casual fans. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I suppose it is my turn. So, you guys stole a little bit of the thunder, but I'm going to go
Sorry.
like, no, it's okay. For me, I will say for me, I got to say Black Sabbath 1970 through 1975. Like those 6 albums, you pretty much could like just grab a match. Magic 8 Ball, roll a six-sided die, and I'd be happy as a clam just listening to any of those albums. The two that just kind of stick with me a little bit longer though are Paranoid and Master of Reality. Yeah, Paranoid is almost like a greatest hits. I mean, there's just so many great tracks on there, and we'll talk about songs obviously in a little while. We can go do a little bit more of a deep dive. But yeah, I gotta say, like, Electric Funeral is almost like a dirge. Man, what a dark song. I mean, Geezer's definitely in a dark place. It's got a really cool groove to it, but Fairies Wear Boots. I would say if somebody told me, hey, War Pigs is the best heavy metal song in the world, I wouldn't have an issue with it, man. Just such a great opener and one of those iconic songs. But the whole album from beginning to end is great. And yes, some of those songs have been overplayed by DJs and whatever, YouTube. But it's still, I mean, those songs are just iconic. Master of Reality, when you have two of the behemoths, Into the Void, Children of the Grave. Come on, man. Those are like two of the heaviest hitters out of the 70s. Maybe period, just maybe like down the line. Imagine if those were modernized, like in today's a 48-track studio. I mean, you put some compressor on the, tuned down to C sharp. I mean, Iommi's guitar would probably break a few speakers in that studio, Who are we kidding?
Or
But,
it'll come out sounding overproduced.
I don't
Yeah.
have a problem with that.
Yeah.
I'm a production snob. I mean, that's why I prefer death metal over black metal, because I want everything sounding tight, and as crystal clear as possible. So I'm okay with it.
As long as it isn't coming from the same studio that Saint Anger came from.
Woo! Oh, get rid of that snare drum. But anyway, I digress.
Never heard of it.
Yeah. Yep.
Never heard it. Never heard of it.
You're not missing out.
Yeah, you got Solitude on Master Reality. I mean, that whole album's just such a freaking gem. It's great.
Lord of this World. After Forever. Every I will fight and die. I will fight and die on this hill. Every track on that album is a Sabbath classic.
The bass line on After Forever, forget about it, man. And we talked a little bit, obviously I know George had some pretty strong sentiments about Bill Ward's drumming, and I mean the drumming on After Forever is just absurd. And I got to admit, I did want to spin some more Sabbath before we got together tonight, but I did kind of pick and choose a few songs. I did listen to some Wicked World, and yeah, Bill Ward's, man, he is in a freaking zone on that song. Wow.
Rat Salad is the song that comes to mind.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
Rat Salad is vintage Bill Ward. And,
it's bluesy. There's like that shuffling going on. There's some great, the fills. We talked about fills before, but
fills are phenomenal.
What a monster. Both of those tracks. I mean, the drumming's just off the charts. Yeah.
I gotta say this about Bill Ward. He makes John Bonham look like a pansy.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I love Zeppelin and John Bonham. No disrespect at all.
No.
But put him up against Bill. Woof,
I'm good with
forget it.
I'm good with it.
I said this when we got together the last time. I would put prime Bill Ward up against any drummer of his era. Keith Moon, John Bonham.
Dude, even Neil this Peart. Era.
Yeah, I mean, Bill Ward was a beast.
He would definitely stand tall. But I got to switch over to Ozzy. I got to give him his due. Blizzard of Oz, just like that was like a life changer for me personally. I'm trying to think of which I heard first, because I got a sister that's just about 6 years older than I am. And I feel like, I don't know if I heard Diary of a Madman first, but I can't choose one over the other. Like Blizzard of Oz and Diary of a Madman, those are easy, like 10s. No hesitation, full tilt. Those are great flipping albums, man. Beginning to end. I mean, like I played I Don't Know in a band, and I just love how Ozzy sounds. They got the delay going on the chorus. It's simplistic, but it's great. Over the Mountain, what a great vocal melody by Ozzy, man. I mean, wow. I mean, he is just hitting it. Let's see what else. Oh, you know what? Here's something I thought about kind of after the last time that we had gotten together. Is I feel like you guys tell me, give me your take on this, and I know you will, which is appreciated. So Revelation Mother Earth, it's such a dynamic song with Rhodes playing classical guitar to start it off, and it goes into this kind of, I don't know what I want to call it, like this windmill of explosions. It's like a tour de force with a neoclassical guitar playing, and just the tempo's cranked up. And the solo is brilliant. And but to me, that's almost like a precursor to Diary of a Madman, with like the choir, more acoustic guitar, very dissonant, but well written. Rhodes was his knowledge of guitar theory is just off the charts. Music theory in general, honestly. But that one also has just some great, like dark but very musical moments. And do you guys see how those two like relate a little bit? I feel like I kind of feel like one I wouldn't say it influenced, but you could see where Randy was headed, from Blizzard of Oz to Diary of a Madman.
It's almost like if you can make a perfect Use Your Illusion 1 and 2, that would be it. And when you're talking about breaking in a whole new band after you just got booted from a literally genre-defying band, this was probably the best way, with the absolute best partners in writing and playing and everything, just between Ozzy and Randy and Tommy Aldridge and Rudy Sarzo, all those
Sarzo,
guys.
yeah.
Yeah, just those first two albums cemented Ozzy as a force to be reckoned with for the 80s. After getting canned from Black Sabbath.
Came
Yeah, and I
back
mean,
so strong. Go ahead, John.
yeah, I mean, to your point, Blake, I think also you can kind of see the direction, or the influence rather, where a lot of today's symphonic metal bands get their inspiration from as well. There's a lot of parallels, I think, in that to what bands like Epica or,
Nightwish.
Nightwish. Thank you. I was lost my train of thought there, my crazy train of thought, as it were. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can kind of see where they would get their inspiration from in that, and I never really had thought about that before. But I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of bands doing that today, and with a good deal of success as well. I mean, it's not particularly my genre of choice. Um, but however, I do respect the amount of instrumentation and the amount of talent and musicianship that goes into it. Certainly.
Yeah,
So I gotta
that's an
I gotta
interesting
say something
perspective.
here.
Go ahead, George.
When I gosh, this was like around 2011 or 12. Within Temptation came out with their album The Unforgiven. There was a song on there called Shot in the Dark. I'm like, are they covering an Ozzy tune? So I bought the album based on that, and then I played it. No, they weren't. Holy cow, you can definitely hear those early, like, Randy Rhoads up to Jakey Lee, just those vibes going throughout that whole album, and that's kind of what got me into symphonic metal to begin with, outside of Nightwish.
Well, Nightwish is godly. Let's face it. I mean, even I dig them. Give them their props and their spins. I mean, they got a little jam called The Islander, which
Yes.
I love Celtic folk music or Scandinavian folk, so that one gets a lot of spins here around the house. But I digress. This is an Ozzy and Sabbath appreciation post, but
Exactly.
this is where the inspiration for a band like Nightwish, probably came from.
That is pretty
Without asking
interesting.
them
Yeah,
Yeah.
directly.
I never thought of that before, John. Yeah, that is pretty interesting though, with just all the dynamics of Revelation, Mother Earth, Diary of a Madman. It's the song itself kind of takes that next chapter with the choir, with the strings as well, which you can hear all pretty much just about all your like symphonic metal. Like for me, within Temptation, I started off at the heart of everything, which I know is kind of a
Oh,
different.
that's a good one.
Yeah, that's still my favorite of theirs, and I know it's not as quite symphonic, but it has that kind of mix of they're really crushing it on the 7 string, so there's a little more depth. Like it's definitely pretty heavy, but there's still the melody too. And that's one thing, honestly, that's attracted me with like Ozzy and Sabbath. I mean, Sabbath was kind of scary. Like I remember my first bass player turned me on to him, and I was like, oh my God. I was like, wow, this album cover's scary with this like woman, and like the first album cover, I was like, what's going on? And boom,
You're like,
with
I'm gonna
the
burn in
bell and
hell for the
everything.
rest of eternity.
Yeah, the bell's ringing. I'm like, what is going on here? But then it was just kind of one of those things. I was like, hey, I'm gonna embrace the fear. But the beauty of it is, whether it's Sabbath or Ozzy, like they always find a way to have that, like they have there's heaviness, there's melody, and I mean Sabbath even more so than Ozzy, that diversity we had talked about last time. Like sometimes it's like jazzy, sometimes it's bluesy, sometimes it's super thunderous heavy riffs. I mean, you got to appreciate the masters, man. They are the godfathers for a reason.
Funny story. You talked about
Mhm.
Sabbath being scary. The first time I was ever exposed to Black Sabbath or heavy metal in general, because it wasn't really even a thing at the time, I was probably maybe about 5 or 6 years old. And
Mhm.
my old man had Paranoid on 8 track.
Okay.
Yeah, yes, I'm 8 track years old.
Nice.
Now, I don't know if it was his or if he had borrowed it from a friend, but he was playing it in the house one night and he was playing it loud. And it scared the hell out of me because I had never heard my experience at, 5, 6 years old was based off of essentially radio rock, which in the Philadelphia area at the time would have been, stations WMMR and WYSP, whose playlist consisted of like the Beatles, John Cougar Mellencamp, Bob Seger, so to hear something that was tuned down and atmospheric and you get a song, particularly I think it was Hand of Doom that scared the hell out of me because it was so quiet. You had the little
Mhm.
bass line and everything was very
Do do do.
subdued. And all of a sudden, Ozzy starts screaming about push the needle in and the riff kicks in and it's just louder than hell. I mean, it scared the shit out of five-year old me at the time. And oh yeah, I mean, I'm being honest. And it wasn't until I first started digging deep into heavy metal. I was 14 years old, about 1990, and started getting into Judas Priest and Iron Maiden that I finally came back to Black Sabbath and back to Paranoid in particular. And like Blake said, embrace the fear and found that there was just so many great riffs courtesy of Tony and great bass lines and Bill Ward with those fills, which was just phenomenal, and Ozzy screaming his lungs out, and it kind of came full circle for me at that point. But yeah, early on, man, whew, I wouldn't have touched Sabbath with a stick at 5, 6 years old.
Yeah, we were
All
talking
right.
about how Sabbath, is the inspiration behind all these other subgenres, not just symphonic metal, but, and I'm going to go off just on a little bit of a tangent here, but it's still Sabbath, so it counts. When they brought Dio in, that was the start of the power metal movement too. So you have like Dungeons and Dragons meets awesome metal.
No, yes and no. I think Judas Priest had as much to do with that as Dio era Sabbath did.
Yeah, I think it was like kind of okay, yeah, in that sense, yeah, I'll give it like 50-50 kind of thing. Because you look at bands like Hammerfall and Sabaton and all that, they've got the look and they've got the sound. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a little bit of both.
All right. Well, let's cover some songs. And without this being a 2-hour podcast, maybe we can narrow it down to 3 to 5 tracks. John, do you want to go first?
Oh yeah, sure.
Sabbath and Ozzy.
Sabbath and Ozzy.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm
Just
going to
throw them
start
out
with
there.
Sabbath.
We know
I'll
you like
start.
Sabbath more. Go for it.
Yeah, I'll start with Black Sabbath. For
Cool.
me, I'll just give you my top three favorite tracks without getting into deep cuts either. It's Children of the Grave going to be my favorite right now. It's
Yes.
just it is the quintessential metal riff. It's hard driving.
Mm.
The lyrics are very political and still very relevant, maybe even more relevant today than when Ozzy wrote them back in 1970. Second favorite Sabbath, it's got to be Symptom of the Universe. Again, I'm a huge fan of Tony and the work that he's done over the years. Phone's going nuts. Turn this thing off for a second. Sorry about that, guys. Um, Symptom of the Universe. Again, it's a classic hard driving riff that I think that just it exemplifies what metal should be. It's catchy, it's crunchy, it's unreal. Third, probably Iron Man. And again, not even so much for the riff, yeah, it's overplayed, whatever. I still love it. But the back half of that track, when they go instrumental and Geezer starts chugging along with those bass lines and Bill starts going nuts on the drums, Iron Man is, again, just an all-time classic. It's one that literally I've heard since I was 5 years old. You can't say enough good things about it. It kind of in a lot of ways, brought heavy metal to the mainstream psyche. Because I mean, I remember like watching NWA wrestling when I was a kid, and the Road Warriors would come out and they'd be blaring Iron Man in the background,
Oh yeah,
just awesome.
I
And
was there.
you would
I was
get
there.
chills, my high school football team, the marching band would play Iron Man when they came out. So it kind of transcends genres and culture, counterculture, what have you. On the Ozzy side of things, I know we talked about this before. Suicide Solution has a lot of personal meaning to me. Again, I've had friends in my life that have dealt with depression and alcoholism. Lyrically, I think that's kind of the genius of Ozzy, is that he always wrote lyrics that were relevant, that you could relate to on a personal level. And I think that's why, everyone loves him so much, because, he sang these songs as much for us as for himself. So Suicide Solution, definitely. Bark at the Moon, again, as an impressionable kid, being from the MTV generation, seeing that video and seeing him all fluffed up and everything in the wolf suit, was just priceless. And it's a great song to boot. And beyond that, it gets to be kind of a mixed bag with me. I could go Shot in the Dark, I could go Over the Mountain, any number of the Ozzy classics. But I think really probably the title track from No More Tears. You got Mike Inez on bass, just ripping it up, just that groovy bass line that just
Great bass
attracted me.
tone too.
Yeah, it just
Man.
attracted me to it instantly. So those would have to be my top three favorites of each.
Outstanding. George, your picks?
My picks, and I've been listening to the Prince of Darkness box set for like the last 2 days too. But yeah, I'm always gonna say Desire's gonna be my number one, no matter what. I don't care what list it's on, except for the world's worst song. So we got Desire, and then I'm gonna go with. I think last time I said it was the duet with Miss Piggy doing.
That was
But then
unexpected. Yes.
Never
right
gets
at
old.
right
You're
behind
right.
that song on the box set, it was Ozzy doing a cover of Staying Alive. Oh my God. Was I took the CD, put it or not CD. I took the file and put it in my car and blasted it, went down the road. God, it sounds so much better when you're going 60 down the highway. But then right after the song got over with, I got pulled over. Some cop was tailing me. It's whoops, sorry.
At least you got a story out of it.
That's true. Jesus. Yeah. So there's that. And then I'm gonna go with Under the Graveyard just because that's kind of like that's kind of the story of Ozzy between Sabbath and Blizzard. And it just hit home just to imagine what he must have been going through during that time and the fact that he made it out of it alive. And then last but definitely not least, Let Me Hear You Scream.
Yep, that gets people pretty fired up. No
It's a good
doubt.
one.
It
And
is.
people
It is.
don't give Gus G a whole lot of credit either, but I listened to that whole album and he can hold it his weight with Zach and Jake Ely
Oh,
and Randy
he's a
too.
full-on shredder. He is a
Oh,
full-on
absolutely.
shredder. Yep,
Absolutely. He's definitely worthy of being on an Aussie stage.
no doubt. All right, let's see. I guess it's my turn, and boy, the dilemma is trying to minimize this to a few songs. I am going to do my best. I promise I won't. I promise I won't go over 30 minutes. Just kidding. I'm going to start out with NIB. I played NIB, learned it, and played it in my very first band. I guess it's one of those sentimental things, but I love the song. It's a very simple riff. Ozzy's voice is just so iconic. He sounds great. Just love that song. It's hard. I wrote down so many. Although I crossed it off, I think I have to kind of bring it back from the grave. Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath. What a massive riff. Then they go into some jazzy passages, especially at the end. But man, Ozzy just sounds so phenomenal. And again, I want to focus more on his voice on most of these songs. I will get to Randy Rhoads in a little while. Iomi, End of the Void. Woo!
Oh
Wow.
yeah.
That's one of my all-time favorite riffs. I love it because I try to explain this to some people that like more extreme metal and maybe they don't listen to a whole lot of classic metal, or maybe they don't listen to classic metal in general, and that's fine. But I'm like, the beauty of some Sabbath, more Sabbath than Ozzy solo, but the Sabbath, it's like, especially, the older, like the 70s, early 70s, you got a lot of stuff that's tuned down to C sharp due to Iommi's, workshop incident. But they're playing so deep, and then Ozzy oftentimes is singing like multiple octaves above, and it just has this perfect, like it meshes together really well. If everything was all super deep, it would sound muddy, right? If everything
Right.
was like really high, it'd be like, okay, or what are we trying to do here? Are we trying to shatter windows, sliding glass doors? What are we doing? So it's like, I feel like it's like just a great mesh there with Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, and a lot of the old Sabbath stuff, honestly, in general. Other Sabbath, geez. I did mention Electric Funeral. I always feel like I guess it is kind of a deep cut, but that one's always kind of stuck with me too. I love it. It has that ominous presence. Lyrics are pretty dark, but they make you think as well.
They're still relevant too.
They are. I was going to
Yep.
mention that. Yeah, they truly are. Yeah, I really could go on about the Sabbath. I guess I'll move over to Ozzy solo.
Oh, I
Diary of a
guess.
Diary of a Madman is just such an epic. I try to get that word in there at least once during a podcast, so I'm going to toss it out there. They got the full-on choir. Rhodes is playing classical nylon string guitar and a steel string acoustic guitar, and of course he's wielding the electric guitar. And what a phenomenal guitar solo with the reverb. Ozzy is in peak form, and I'm gonna actually stay with this album. I never really thought of this as one of my favorite songs, but it's one of those like heavy metal anthems, but not in a cheesy way, which is fine. There's some good cheesiness out there. We all know, Twisted Sister, they're quite right. There's some nice, good cheesiness out there. There's nothing wrong with it. You can't kill rock and roll. I mean, you can't kill rock and roll. That song to this day still gives me goosebumps, man. Just such a great, it's just got this emotion to it. The chord selection is nice. It's got a good vibe to it. Ozzy's just, man, the chorus, he's just that vocal melody he wrote, man. The guy's got a lot of skill. I know a lot of people want to put him down to Dio, but like him and Dio they're different styles. I love Ronnie James Dio like the next person, but Ozzy can sing, he can sing great. It's just sometimes people will be like, it was like, oh, well, he's always messed up. He's always on drugs, this or that, or he's always drunk. Or they'll mention the Oz, they'll
Back
mention,
then, who wasn't?
yeah, and they'll mention the Ozzy TV show, which we talked about before, but it's like that doesn't take anything away from what he's laid down in the studio and performed in front of thousands upon thousands of people, singing and key and singing oftentimes for 2 hours, sometimes longer.
It's an apples to oranges comparison.
Yeah.
Straight
Mm-hmm.
up. Apples to oranges. People do the same thing with Judas Priest, trying to compare Rob Halford and Tim Owens, which I think is really unfair. I think Tim stepped in and did a wonderful job
Absolutely.
for replacing Rob.
I will die on that hill.
Oh,
He's
dude,
got
you
some
and me
pipes.
both. You
He
and me
has got
both,
some pipes. Yeah.
So, I get bent out of shape a little bit when fans start doing that. For one, it takes some great big giant kahunas to step into the shadow of a legend and perform.
Bullseye. Live
So I
Evil.
mean,
Live
Exactly.
Evil, not to detract, but Live Evil. I'm just gonna throw that out there because he sang some Ozzy and sounded great, and Ozzy obviously wrote the songs, but yeah, just they're both phenomenal vocalists, and as you said, apples to oranges. Stylistically, they're very different, but you have to appreciate both of them as well, which we all do, obviously, but they're just,
sure.
obviously they're going to be
And
knuckleheads, and some people just like to compare. Like the way I operate, I even don't like to compare bands like albums to one another, and much less compare like the big one that you always see is Metallica and Megadeth. Just appreciate the art for what it is. That's the way, and it's great if you want to get into a debate. I certainly would, but I'm always about, hey, let's just appreciate what we have. In that case, from both bands, and Mustang would have stayed in Metallica, we wouldn't have had Megadeth. So not to
Well,
get
and
a
it's
sidetrack, but
Taste is subjective anyway. Taste
Very
is
much so.
entirely
Absolutely.
subjective.
Yes.
I mean,
Yep.
everybody's going
And
to have their favorites to a greater or lesser
yeah,
extent. I think stylistically, Black Sabbath even changed musically when Ronnie came aboard. Like George said, they kind of became that, more of a power metal or
A little
pre-power
more
metal.
fantasy. Yeah. Kind of
Yeah,
fantasy
yeah.
lyrical
with an
content.
element. Yeah,
Hmm.
certainly.
So
There were less of that doomy, dungeony, Black Sabbath that we all, came to know and love up to that point. So yeah, I mean, it irritates me a little bit, when people do that, certainly. But I mean, we're all human, and a lot of us just aren't happy unless we got something to bitch about, and that's the way
well,
it
that's the
is.
one thing I hate because then like you get
Yep.
like people like the metal press or the Rolling Stone or critics, whatever, and they always said how Ozzy hates Dio and Dio hates Ozzy. I hated that whole thing for as long as it went because Ozzy's had nothing but respect for Dio. Granted, he won't listen to the Dio albums, but then again, that's his prerogative. Same thing with Dio and going back and forth with Ozzy. They both respected the hell out of each other, but the press just made this big old who's better, Ozzy or Dio, and all this other crap, and that kind of stuff just pisses me off.
And in
Yep.
Ozzy's defense, I don't really listen to the Dio Sabbath albums either, so there's that.
Ouch. Okay.
So what got me into Sabbath before Ozzy was Heaven and Hell. So,
I
Hey, to
like it
each his
all.
own.
Yeah, I was gonna say I like it all, but Blake knows how I feel. Like Ian Gillan is fine, but like for me, like Ozzy and Dio are both like I just put them up on like a different level for me personally. And again, that's the beauty of music and
yeah,
art. Like we all have our life would be so bland if we all like the same stuff, if we all look the same, dress the same. You know how that goes, yada yada yada. But I'm gonna get us refocused. Good discussions. I'm going with something slow. I didn't write this down, but Killer of Giants. I know
Ooh.
Ultimate Sin gets a little too much hate, and yes, it is a little over polished, I guess, production wise, and they were in their kind of glam phase. But Ozzy, honestly, I don't know if he sounded any better than on that album. His voice, if you listen, he sounds just so pristine and like just he is on, and maybe that's the only album he was clean on, and I don't say that as a joke. But I mean, he just sounds so great. But Killer of Giants, I mean, you're talking about like giants, winning wars in their dreams. You're talking about possible nuclear annihilation. I mean, it's honestly something that could happen tomorrow. It's just something that's still relevant today. But Jakey Lee's just massive. Those chords that he plays, oh my God. And then just Ozzy's just the chorus. And man, that song definitely hits you. I always love that song. It's slower, but I'll defend that one, man, till the very end. Love that song. I am gonna jump back to Blizzard of Oz. I don't know. I mentioned it earlier. That's one. I just love the drive-in 16th notes. I love Ozzy's vocal melodies. I think the rhythm section really holds it down nice and tight. And I think I'll probably stop myself short. Now, I did want to mention Snowblind. I'm going back to Sabbath for
oh
one last song. I
yes,
mean, yeah, I recently learned the rest of that song. I learned part of it a while ago, and I learned the rest of it. And I was like, this is just such a phenomenal song. And I don't know if you guys knew this. I read this recently, actually, but Ozzy had said during recording of Volume 4, they were all doing like coke so much. They said that Tony Iommi had done so much, he ended up passing out in the studio, and that's why they wrote the song Snowblind. I was like, wow, did not know that. But that's a gem of a song.
And
he
again,
must have been in the
lyrically,
same studio with Ace Frehley.
and again, lyrically, it's still relevant today.
Mhm.
If you look at the personal problems that people have facing with addiction, it's still hits home, however many years later, and I think that again, that's the genius of Ozzy. And I don't, he probably didn't even realize it at the time, just how transcendental his lyrics really are.
Yep, yep, well said. So let's talk briefly about a favorite cover tune or two. George, did you want to start us off? It could be a Black Sabbath cover, it could be an Ozzy cover, whatever you want to shoot out, man. Go for it.
Oh gosh, I've already named the two cover tunes. Out of those two, yeah, I'm gonna go back to Ozzy doing the duet with Miss Piggy for
So I
God,
mean, yeah,
it's
with Miss Piggy.
it's Born to Be Wild, but yeah,
Oh,
Steppenwolf's Born to Be
okay.
Wild.
Well, so what I mean actually is, I mean like bands that have covered Ozzy or Black Sabbath songs. Do you have
Oh
a
yeah, yeah,
favorite
yeah.
one,
Okay.
like one or two of those?
Oh yeah. Probably the best one ever would be, and I saw this live with KK's Priest, Ripper doing just a jam out to fly over the mountain
Ooh.
with KK, and it was just so phenomenal.
Hmm.
And this is like back in their first show before it was KK's Priest or anything like that. Back when it was actually at KK's Steel Mill in England, and
Okay.
they were just doing a bunch of cover tunes, and this came on, and oh man, it just yeah, I was done after that. I was like, yeah, I don't need any more.
Do you know if that's out there on Spotify? I'll have to look that up, or YouTube
I don't
maybe, or I don't
I
know.
don't think any of that show
Yeah.
was. If there is, it's
Okay.
probably going to be like an iPhone thing on YouTube or whatever. Somebody got it on their phone, but
Okay.
yeah,
Any other cover you like at
mm,
all, or not that you have to choose a second one?
um,
I've got two, and John I think remembers probably you both might remember my two, but
Iced Earth covering War Pigs.
oh, I'm
I
trying.
haven't heard that.
Or Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath. It's one of those two. I forgot which one it
Oh man,
was.
I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna have to go dig up some Iced Earth. Okay, shoot.
I love some
I
Iced
haven't
Earth.
listened to those boys in a while, man. Yeah, Schaefer and Company.
Yeah, I
Man.
Oh
love
yeah,
some Iced
Okay.
Earth.
Okay. Oh, that's cool, man. Awesome.
yeah. They did an entire record of covers, like they
Yep.
did the Creatures of the Night and all that, and then
Tribute to the Gods. Is that
yeah,
what it is?
that's it.
Right. Gotcha. I'm gonna have to fire it up, man. It's been too long. I got you. Thanks for the inspiration. And
Yeah,
John, how about you?
I love me some Ice
Nice.
Earth.
Yeah, you and me.
Yeah,
Yeah, it sounds like all three of us like, hey, we got to do an Ice Earth podcast.
I'm down.
Yes,
We
I'm
should do
down.
it.
I'm
yes.
down.
We'll pressure Blake. Hey,
Oh yeah,
Blake,
absolutely.
Blake, this is Eric. Yeah, I'm going to send you a text, brother. But
Let's do it.
yeah, we should do it. The hardest part might be choosing the album, but we can talk about that later. So,
Something
John,
wicked.
okay,
Glorious
okay,
Burden.
interesting. Okay, so let's see, John. How about I know at least one of yours. What do you got coming our way as far as covers?
Yeah, here very recently, I'd stumbled across Judas Priest doing War Pigs online, which was phenomenal, by the way. If you haven't already seen it, it's on YouTube. Check it out, or you can go to Judas Priest Facebook page. It's on there. Check it out. Amazing job they did with it. Just absolutely phenomenal. And Rob Halford at 70 plus years of age, still hitting those high notes is amazing. Um, but they can, looking back a little bit, when the Nativity in Black compilation was released,
Like that
White
album, man. That's a good one.
It's a good one.
White Zombie doing Children of the Grave was phenomenal. I think
Ooh.
I'm a big believer that to do a good cover song, you got to have a song that's worth covering. And I think stylistically, it's got to fit what your band does. And all of those factors fit with White Zombie covering Children of the Grave. They did just a fantastic job with it. And again, briefly, Sepultura doing Symptom of the Universe, another favorite song of mine. They did a killer job with that. And being a death metal guy, Skinless did an instrumental. I'm a sucker for an instrumental. Skinless did an instrumental version of Wicked World off of
Mm,
their
okay.
Trample the Weak, Hurdle the Dead album. It was the very last track on there, like a bonus track or whatever. And it was great because, again, like Georgia talked about with, modern production with Sabbath riffs and everything like that, and
Hmm.
updated equipment and stuff. Definitely worth checking out. Like I said, it's instrumental, no lyrics, but still very, very killer cover.
Nice.
Let me
Nice.
throw
So,
out an honorable mention, and I
go for it,
promised
man.
myself I wouldn't say I wouldn't use any of the covers that they did at the Back to the Beginning show, but
No, do it,
did
man.
did y'all see how amazing Lizzie Hale did Perry Mason?
I did see. I bought that the whole back to the beginning, and maybe it's because I bought it in the evening, but I only got 4 songs, so I felt kind of gypped. So I did not catch
Ooh,
Lizzie Hale, but I'm sure it's on YouTube. I'm sure it is.
it is. You gotta check it out. She nailed it so well done.
Okay.
I
Okay.
I love Perry Mason, and if there was ever a time when a cover came close to being better than the original, this would be it.
Well, now I definitely need to check it out.
Yeah. I only saw clips of the benefit show, just here and there, so I missed the majority of it. I do listen to a little Hailstorm on occasion, so yeah, I would definitely like to check that out.
That's just it, is
Sure.
I've never heard any Hailstorm.
Actually, I saw them recently open up for Volbeat, so that's kind of the funny part. And they sounded good. They're like, I guess, hard
Volbeat's
rock.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
they're a
guess.
hard rock band. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Volbeat was a blast, man. Had the crowd going. But yeah, I think for me, I thought of three. Like the two were kind of layups for me. I already mentioned the song earlier, but man, End of the Void, Soundgarden covering that song.
Yes.
Oh,
Chris
yes.
Cornell's like his voice, his style, and his range. I mean, he owned that song, and yeah, the band. I mean, that drummer's man top flight, but the band definitely did a great job covering that song. I love it. I'm gonna actually have to go listen to it again. I haven't listened to it in ages, but there was a time where I listened to End of the Void and Birth Ritual, which is like a B-side. I would listen to those all the time. And then Sabbath Bloody Sabbath by Anthrax. I know John and I talked about that a little bit. And
Yes.
I do agree with you. I know you're not the big Anthrax fan, and that's cool. But I do agree with you with the part about like Belladonna's like his vocal style fits that song really well, like that higher kind of range. So
Yes.
I'm definitely with you
Right.
on that. I definitely hear that. And as much as I like the diversity of the original, I like how Anthrax stays more true to themselves and they just keep it really heavy. The choruses are heavy, just the chords ring out. Benante has some cool hesitation with the kick drum. And yeah, Belladonna just, man, he sounds great. Those guitars are, man, Ian and company, they're so thick. I love that cover.
Hmm.
Something that I just thought of while we were talking here is here's another one I haven't heard of in a while, and this is off Nativity in Black, but Lord of this World, COC, Corrosion of
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
Conformity,
wow.
man.
Yeah.
What a great cover song. Like like I don't know if I would call that song like a deep cut, but you don't hear too many people talk about Lord of this World. Like John brought it up earlier, but there are other people I'll talk to about Sabbath, and nobody ever brings it up. Like John's the first person I've heard brought it up, and I think it's a great tune. It's an awesome song, and COC, man, the lead singer sounds great. The band, like they do well, man. They hold up well on that song. I really like their cover. I'm gonna just have to go listen to Nativity in Black now because it's been a while there too. I definitely love the zombie. Yeah, that zombie cover is pretty wicked, man. Dun, dun,
But
dun, dun,
again,
dun, dun. Yeah.
Into the Void, or Lord of this World, excuse me, fits what Corrosion of Conformity does. They've evolved from basically a straight up skate thrash metal punk band into
Hardcore. Yeah. Hmm.
more of a blues based southern hard rock
Kind of
band.
stoner rock. Yep, I
Yeah,
got you.
and
Yeah.
and so Lord of this World
Redneck
kind
rock.
of fits because I mean Sabbath kind of when you think about it, Sabbath kind of really pioneered a lot of that in their own way too. And now
They
you've got
did.
a myriad of these bands, hybrid bands, doom bands. You got like Nebula and Orange Goblin, and my personal favorite, High on Fire, which is just basically if Black Sabbath and Motorhead had a love child down on the bayou. I mean, they rip and they're doomy and the riffs are Godzilla sized. So again, I mean, I give a lot of credit to Black Sabbath as not just creating a genre, but creating a myriad of subgenres, and all of which are very unique in their own way. It's phenomenal to see the impact that they've had on the world of music as a whole. I mean, it's unreal.
It really is. Sabbath is just such a far-reaching band. I mean, you think about all the bands they've impacted from late 70s, 80s. I mean, hell, even today, they've just impacted so many different styles of music. I mean, I think it's safe to say we wouldn't have like I don't know. I mean, obviously you have to give. Ozzy was a huge Beatles fan, so obviously you have to give the Beatles some love. Zeppelin, Cream, some of those bands. But for like true heavy metal, though, it's like Sabbath really just brought the thunder and just, as you said, I mean, they have so many different subgenres, but they really brought that metallic edge and with kind of their own like spin on it. They'll shuffle here, they'll have a ballad here, they'll have just something where they're kind of changing tempos. All of a sudden, it's like, who does that? Who changes tempos like that? And I like Sabbath to me, that was the first band I heard. Like, I remember hearing like, I mean, the first album, but I kind of go back to Electric Funeral, how it's like slow and doomy, and then it goes in, goes in this kind of bluesy up tempo kind of jaunt, and it's like. Man, who would have thought of that stuff? And it's the Godfathers, they do it. So, George, what memories do you have of Sabbath and Ozzy? We'll cover our memories right now, and we'll try to keep it to under 3 hours. Just kidding.
So the biggest memory for me was seeing Sabbath here in Salt Lake on what was their farewell tour with Ozzy.
Oh, the end?
Yeah, the
Was
end.
it the end? Yeah.
I think it was the end, yeah. Like, what was it, like
20.
yeah.
I saw in 2016 here in Virginia. I'm not sure what year.
No, this was
I
like,
thought it was.
no, this was
That
during the
sounds
Ozfest era, so like maybe like
Yeah.
97, 98,
Okay.
somewhere around
I
there.
saw 3 of the Ozfest. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
that would be my biggest one. And then I had tickets to see Ozzy solo in Vegas in 2020.
Mm.
He canceled it the first time because of his health. The second time
crap.
it was canceled because of COVID. So
Ah.
there went that. And then I got in line to get tickets to the Back to the Beginning show, and I ended up at like 81,000 something or other.
Man.
So I didn't come close to getting in.
Yeah. Do you know what the capacity was in Birmingham?
I know they said it, but I just can't remember off the top of my
That's
head.
okay. That's okay. I was just curious. I wasn't sure if you knew, but that's pretty cool though. John, how about you? Did you ever catch Sabbath or Ozzy? You have any memories, like any just memories in general of?
Memories aside from being frightened out of my wits at 5 years old.
That's young.
Right. Saw Ozzy and Black Sabbath at Ozfest 97 down at the Starplex in Dallas, Texas. Me and 2 of my drinking buddies from the Air Force at the time, from Barksdale Air Force Base down in Shreveport, Louisiana, piled into my buddy Mickey Hunter's car. Shout out to Mickey if he's listening. And made the 2-hour drive down I-20 from Shreveport down to Dallas to go catch the show. Once in a lifetime thing. I think even back then, I'm like, back in 97, I'm like, wow, I am probably never going to see Black Sabbath together again. I'm pretty sure it was minus Bill Ward. I mean, we were up pretty high. I couldn't see. But I mean, still, Ozzy, Geezer, and Tony together was just, phenomenal. Ozzy came out first and with his band and played a full set of all the Ozzy classics, and then took about a 20-minute break and then came back out and played a full set with Black Sabbath. And I have here for show and tell. I know nobody's really going to see this, but the actual ticket stub
Hell yeah!
from
Love that.
Ozfest 97.
Yes. Oh, that's
Still
killer.
have it all these years later. Kids today won't know what this is because it's all e-tickets nowadays, which I'm okay with that. That's the way technology's going. But
I miss paper tickets.
yeah,
Yes.
this is something to hold
It's a
on
memento.
to. Yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely, something to hold on to from way back in the day. And then I
Still
saw
have my
Ozzy.
first concert stub.
Nice, nice. And then I saw Ozzy again in 2000, again, and also at Ozfest. And you could see even then that, the health issues were kind of starting to take its toll on him. I think I had said before that, where normally he would run from one side of the stage to the other, it was kind of downgraded to a fast limp, at that point. And here again, I thought to myself, in 2000, like, wow, this is probably the last time I'm ever going to see Ozzy live. And, sure, unfortunately, it was. But, it's special just to, see someone so iconic and so influential for so many years, to be able to say that I saw him perform live and to be able to say that I saw him perform with Black Sabbath live was, very, very special to me, being a lifelong metalhead and everything. So, those are my memories, fond ones.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. So for me, I would have to say this is when I just kind of thought up, and it's kind of ridiculous. I still have two of the concert shirts. I actually wore one to Volbeat from high school. I was still able to put it on. I mean, I don't know if you guys realize this, but concert T-shirts from back in the day, they're like paper thin. But I
Oh, yeah.
wore, I
Oh,
wore,
I
I
know.
wore, I wore one of my. I had two. I don't know where I got the money from, but I had two No Rest for the Wicked concert tees, and I wore the black one. Yep, I wore the black one to Volbeat. But that tour, like I didn't think about it at the time. You're a teenager, you're young, period. You don't know any better. You think you know everything. You know how that whole saying goes. But I remember going to like the Capitol Center in Landover, Maryland, and I just saw some phenomenal shows there. I saw Metallica second row for the Justice tour there. That was one of my favorite concerts ever. But I saw Ozzy there on No Rest for the Wicked tour, and just seeing Ozzy, like that charisma, the stage presence, and it's like even at that time I was like, wow, I'm seeing like I wouldn't say the word legend or icon really came to mind, but it's just like, hey, you're seeing this like this star beyond stars. Like this is somebody like he has that commanding presence. People in the music industry, like other bands, like look up to him so much. And then you got Zach knocking it out of the park. He's hitting some of the road solos, nailing some of the Jakey Lee solos. And I mean, that's the thing is like John had mentioned this before, like last time, but I mean, Ozzy was so fortunate to have some of the most gifted guitar players, I mean, on this earth. And but
He
yeah,
knew
I
how to
was
pick
that
them.
he sure
Yeah,
did. And
absolutely.
that No Rest tour really it made an impact on me. I just thought about that as we were talking. So again, it's not something I wrote down, but it's a memory that it came to me. I mean, there are definitely some cobwebs up here, but yeah, that was a really great experience. And I want to say Ozfest. I don't know which year it was. I don't know if it was '08. I'm trying to think of when it was. '08, 2012. Yeah, ticket stub. Good luck with that. I got most of mine, honestly. But I remember seeing them, and they were closing out the show. He closed with Shot in the Dark. And I remember, like, during the show, kind of backing up a moment. It was an August show. It was like early August. It was so stinking hot. And we're about halfway back. We have pretty good seats, but we're maybe we're like row M or row N, somewhere around there. But he had this fire hydrant and he was spraying off people. Well, somehow it got out to us. And not that we got soaked, we would have welcomed it. But a little bit of that like moisture really made a difference because we were just drenched. You've been there all day. I mean, we've been there, maybe missed the first band or two, but we've been there since 2 or 3 in the afternoon. Ozzy's closing things up at, close to 11 o'clock, and that felt good. And then, like, when he's finished playing, I was like, man, Ozzy still sounds amazing. It's in the 2000s. Yes, his speech wasn't great. I mean, his talking, he's kind of mumbling through some words, some phrases. But as soon as he starts singing, he's singing clearly. You can understand, the lyrics. He sounds great. But then this, like these red and blue, and I'm like, what is this? Confetti? I was like, okay, I've never been to a concert. Confetti's falling. I'm like, this is weird. I flip it over. I'm like, oh, that's Ozzy's face. It's like in cartoon form. It's like kind of a deranged, almost like a Mad Libs kind of like, Yeah, I mean, that
I
kind of
remember
art.
those. Yeah.
Yeah, it was wacky looking. I was like, what is this? I remember I took it home. I think it's long gone now, but I took one home, but they had it in like dark blue and in red, and I was like, okay, only Ozzy's gonna pull off something like this. If it's anybody else, they're like too full of themselves. But it's like Ozzy gets a pass. He is
Kiss
the
did it
god.
too.
Okay, he's like the Godfather, so let's go ahead and just give it to him. But and then the end tour, which George had mentioned before, for me, it was I was thinking it was 2017. I was only off by a year. I actually know because I was just flipping through my phone a little while back. It was 2016 when they came to Jiffy Lube here in Virginia, and I saw Sabbath twice, and that was the last show. But I was like, man, I talked a former guitar student of mine and I was like, hey, man, I said, I know how you feel about Maiden. I got you into Maiden. That's great. We all love Maiden. I said, but without Sabbath, there would be no Maiden. So I was like, try your best. Come on out. You got to catch this show. So he brought some friends out, and, we got up there, had the lawn seats. But, man, it was just such a blast just watching them perform. And then I got to say, and everybody was hitting it, but Master of Reality, the crowd, I swear that place was like a mini earthquake. People were jumping up and down, flailing those horns, their arms and the horns, screaming. I was like, okay, only children of the grave, man. Master of Reality. Thank you very much. Horns held high. Man, that was quite an experience.
It was kind of funny. You talk about going to the Ozfest and whatnot. And one of the things that stood out to me when I went in '97 was, there was, most of the crowd was, people my age at the time, early 20s, wearing their Slayer shirts and their Slipknot shirts or whatever. But, here and there in the crowd, you'd pick out a guy, gray in his hair, gray in his beard, with his wearing his Black Sabbath t-shirt, carrying his kid on his shoulders. And I thought that was just really, really cool. I think it was that point I realized that, metal fans are fans for life. And I thought to myself, like, man, that is so awesome. Like, I want to be that guy, when I get to be that age. I want to be that guy, and you fast forward almost 30 years, and now I'm that guy, minus the kids, but still, going to the shows, gray in my hair, which I shave, but it's a lifelong journey, man. I mean, you never meet a metal fan who's like, yeah, I listened to metal, once for about a summer. You don't meet that guy. Metal fans are just fans
Yeah,
for
those are
life.
called posers.
Right.
Yes.
And I
Yep.
mean,
Yep. We're
Black
devoted. I
Sabbath,
mean,
Black
metal
Sabbath
fans are
is the
devoted.
proof of that. Black
Hmm.
Sabbath is the absolute proof of that their music has endured, and Ozzy in his solo career as well, their music has endured for so long and will continue to endure. It's amazing. And, people talk about us, being a counterculture or whatever, and that's fine because, the normies are boring anyway. So, to hell with them.
We don't
Or
need no
or
stinking
somebody.
Taylor Swift.
Yeah, exactly. Oh dear God, no. Or you've got like parents saying, it's just a
It's
phase.
just a phase.
No.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
so played out. Yep, you're so
Yep.
right, but it's so played out. Ugh.
I had a
Yeah.
friend of mine in high school, very, very good friend, told me, and I was just starting to get into like death metal at the time, told me, you're not going to be listening to any of that shit by the time you're 30. He says, you're going to be listening to the same shit your parents listen to. I'm like, in a
No.
way, again, you fast forward 35 years later, in a way, he was right. I'm not really listening to a lot of the same shit. The shit I listen to now is darker and heavier and more brutal than it was.
Oh, that's hilarious. I had some guy tell me in my much younger years as a teenager, he's like, metal church? He's like, you won't. I had a metal church t-shirt on. He's like, you won't like those guys in 5 years. And like somebody else basically said the same thing about Wasp. I was rocking a
Oh,
Wasp first album, and I was wearing like one of those a Wasp shirt, and somebody's like, oh yeah, they're not. He's like, oh, that's not real heavy metal, man. He's like, those guys, yeah, they're just perverts. I was like, well, they're perverts, but they're heavy metal, and I was like, I'll still listen to them. Guess what? I still enjoy Metal Church and Wasp and
the
other
only thing
bands too.
the only thing Blackie Lawless ever stopped was throwing the chunks of meat. Otherwise, it's still the same.
Yep, Tormentor is still ringing out. Oh yeah, without a doubt. Oh man, well this is fun. Hey, to wrap things up, John, how many times did you catch Sabbath and or Ozzy?
Just the two
The
Ozfests.
two. Cool,
Yep. So
cool.
that was it.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, I wish I could have
uh,
been more.
yeah. How about you, George?
It was just that one Sabbath show,
One.
and I was supposed to see Ozzy in Vegas, but it
That's right,
never
Vegas.
happened.
Yeah, I feel like I caught. I was kind of running through the numbers and through the shows, and a little bit of fog here and there, a little bit of a. There's pre-game partying, there's pre-concert partying. So yes, plenty of pre-concert partying back in the heyday. But
Definitely take a pre-concert party over a pre-game day any day.
I
I don't
caught him.
remember those.
Yeah,
No recollection.
I caught Ozzy. I want to say 6 times and Sabbath twice. But yeah, every time it was awesome. I just felt like honestly, I felt like I was lucky each time I saw him. So that tells you the kind of impact he had on me personally. So long live the king. But we've got his music to listen to, man. So definitely really enjoy this podcast. Did you guys want to add anything else? We can put a bow on this one.
Not off the top of my head, but again, thank you for having me. It was a blast talking to both of you, chatting up some Sabbath and some Ozzy. So I had a great time, man. Thank you, guys.
Yes,
Same here.
yes. Thank you, John. Thank you, George.
Now we
I
got to
am.
hit up Blake for an Iced Earth podcast
Iced
next.
There
Earth,
you go. There you
something
go. And
wicked, something
yep.
wicked.
Yeah. So we have John,
Glorious burden.
George. I'll try it one more time. We have John, we have George, and we have Eric. I'm the step-in host. Blake is still busy, but I think we will. I think we'll bug him for an Iced Earth podcast. God bless the Prince of Darkness, and you all have a most metallic evening. Don't forget to visit themetalpit.org. We've got reviews, we got podcasts, we have Metal Maidens. Have a wonderful and metallic night, gentlemen.
Thank you. You too.
Have a good night.
All right, you too.